Hey everybody, I am Kai from Flamenco Explained, and in this video we're going to look at how to expand the basic chord progression in flamenco. We're going to look at sort of how to choose some chords that you can use and also when to change chords, which is one of the things that really confuses people. At the end of the video we'll do our nerdy section about some dominant grips, like some shapes, so that we know how to use our dominants better. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, or I play a shape that you haven't seen before, I'll probably talk about that at the end of the video. For this video, we're going to look in this key, por medio, right? Which is A Phrygian, which is the normal key we use for tangos, Soleá Por Bulería, and of course Bulería. We're going to use Soleá Por Bulería as our template, but I might talk a little bit about how to use this for Bulería also, because it's the same thing, just sped up a little. So our basic chord progression, right, is D minor, C7, B flat, 7, and A, right? And one of the ways that we play that a lot is this sort of B flat to C9 to a different B flat to A, right? So we're going to use this one because this B flat can also be seen as sort of a D minor E thing, and we're not going to get into that, but trust me. So the simple one compás version of this would be 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11, 12, right? Relatively straightforward. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at how we could stretch this out to be a few compasses like this. So we might start 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, right? Which could also be expressed as 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10, right? So how are these the same thing and what are we doing, right, to get into these? So if we start here, and then really what we're doing is we're getting from B flat or D minor, depending on how you look at that chord, to C. Right? And to make it feel more like we've arrived somewhere, we do what's called a secondary dominant, which means we put a dominant in front of that C, the dominant of C, which happens to be G. So we would go from here to G7, and then we resolve to C. Right? The next chord we're going to is B flat, right? If you think about to C to B flat to A. So we just on da, ba, ba. We'll talk about when to change in just a sec. From here, we're going C to B flat, dominant of B flat happens to be F, F7 to B flat. Now, between B flat and A, we don't want to throw the dominant in. That would sound weird if we went da, right? Suddenly that puts us into A major. So how do we do this? Da, 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 and make it sound like there's a dominant in front of that A? It's really actually easier than you think. If you are, let's say from here, you resolve to this B flat voicing, just change the voicing, right? And now it feels like it wants to resolve to A Phrygian in a way that didn't a minute ago, right? So when do we change? Let's look at that first. And how many chords do we need? So I could start here, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10. Right? I could also do 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right? So in one time I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the other I'm doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I don't even need to play this chord. If I'm coming out of A, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, I can go straight to the G, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? So that's a couple different places I can actually change the chords and a couple different ways I can use those chords, or different versions of the chords, I should say, that I can use. I could also start here, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, and 2, and 3, 6, That's one way. Different voicings, but I'm going to the same place, and I'm also, in this case, skipping that B flat at the beginning. The next thing we're going to do is go to B flat, right? And we're going to put the dominant in front of it, the F, and we're resolving to B flat. So we've just done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're on C. So again, I could stay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Or from C, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, and 10. Or I can skip the C at the beginning. I've just come here, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Now here we have fewer options, right? Because we're on a B flat. But one of the common things we'll do is substitute a G minor 7 for that B flat, right? Very similar chord, right? B flat has these notes. G minor 7 has also those notes. So a lot of notes in common. And a common thing we'll do once we're at that G minor 7 is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Doesn't have to be that order, but we're playing with basically the bass line doing bum, bum, bum. So we're resolving up to A instead of down to A, right? So now we've taken this basic dun, 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 and we've turned it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now, so far I've been resolving on 10, but another thing that you'll see that happens, which is a little confusing, is it will actually switch on 9. Basically because we're doing 9, 10. Right? So it's really common to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You'll hear me and everyone else in flamenco tell you that you switch on 10. I think of this as switching on 10, but I'm not. I'm actually switching on 9 just to get that 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Same thing. 1, 2, 3. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So that's another way that things get a little bit confusing. The next thing we're going to look at is that it's very common to put little simple melodies in front of the resolution, right? So I might start here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? That little melody pulls me, or... And obviously, depending how long that melody is, the longer it is, rather, I should say, the earlier we need to start. So we have to sort of feel or count and figure out where to start that little melody so that we resolve on 10 or some syncopated version of 10. So if I'm going to do a really short one like da 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 da, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 notes, they're 16th notes. So I'm going to start 90 and a 10, 11, 12. I'd have to start that here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 90, and a 10, 11, 12. For example, if I had it just a little bit longer, right? And a 90 and a 10. Taka, 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 tam. So again, you're going to have to either count or feel how long the little phrase you're doing is to figure out where to start. So I might do 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, 7, 8, and a 90, and a 10, 11, 12. 2, and 3, 4, and 5, and 6, 7, 8, and a 90, and a 10, 11, 12. 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, 6, and 7, 8, and a 90, and a 10, 11, 12. So you kind of have to feel those, and they can be longer. I could do... right? So all of those little phrases are about feeling your compás. So that's where basic compás stuff comes in. You need to figure out if your phrase is where do you need to start? So in this case, we're doing 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and a 7, and a 80, and a 90, and a 10, and 11, 12. Right? That's a tricky one. The other ones I did and right on 10, or you can make them syncopated. But so that's all the stuff that you can really play around with. Again, this voicing, which we haven't talked about, I'll talk about in just a minute. But basically, this idea of going from D minor or B flat to G7 to C, right? And then from F7 to B flat, and then from B flat to A, or using the G minor 7, right? Or, you know, this chord starts to look a lot like a B flat 7 to resolve to your A. If you were then in another key, you could take the same idea exactly. So let's say we're in our Soleá key. Right, we would start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're going to G. So we just ask ourselves, what's the dominant of G? It's D, right? So we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now we're going to go to F. The dominant is C. And there's a lot of ways we can do up to that, but that gets into transposition. I don't want to get into doing exactly what we just did in another key, but that's the basic idea. Once you get the concepts of what voicings you can use, when you need to change the chords and all that kind of thing, it starts to become a lot more interesting. So now we're going to take a look at some specific grips for dominants. And if you're not up on your theory and you don't quite understand what dominants do, dominants basically make the chord to which they resolve feel more important, whether it's your whole key or just momentarily, as we've been looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Right, that C feels like we've really resolved somewhere. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're going to look at grips that are dominants, right, and what they resolve to. And you kind of, again, if you don't know the theory of it, you want to think backwards. So if I'm resolving to C, the question is, what chord resolves to C? And so rather than make you learn that, I'm going to show you shapes. This is, I can't remember, a few years back I started hearing about the cage system. And I was like, what is this cage thing? It sounds weird. I don't know. It seems gimmicky. And what I realized one day is it's kind of what I've been doing all my life. I just didn't know there was a whole system based around it called caged. So we're going to do sort of my version of caged and just see how dominant shapes resolve to one another in what I consider really practical ways, right? So we're going to start with B resolving to E, right? And don't worry about the names, think more about the shapes. So we're resolving to E, we're going to work backwards, right? We're going to play this chord, B7, and I'm going to show you the more flamenco versions. I'm not going to show you the standard versions, right? So we're either going to do this, B resolving to E, or with F sharp in the bottom, or F sharp and B in the bottom. And this one's a little weird because, right, we're playing two notes with that and we're still playing, right, this finger has to not bump into that, right? So if we're resolving to something that looks like an E, then very common flamenco dominant voicing. We'll get there in a sec. So now, if I'm resolving to an A, then that E, I'm going to play the E7. So this dominant, right? And that resolves to this shape. A7 shape resolves to the D shape. Now, the D shape dominant is this, and it resolves to G. But we're going to look at a really common one, which is in this. We're going to put the F sharp here instead of, we're going to play it here, right? And that's going to resolve to G. We've already seen that when we did here. Da, da. That's that resolves to that shape, essentially, right? So here resolves to G. The G7 resolves to C. Now here's where it gets interesting, because if we keep going using the same patterns we just looked at, we're going to have to start barring. So now we see how movable these chords are. So this C is actually this B moved up, right? So this chord resolves to here. But this chord is also this very flamenco voicing. And now the E barred resolves to an A shape, right? Or an A minor, right? I keep resolving to majors, but we could resolve to minors as well. This A dominant, I'm saying A shape, right? It's really a B flat at this point, but the shape is A, resolves to a D, right? This D7 shape, which we're gonna play like this, resolves to here. Now, this is a weird one because this is a really annoying chord to try to play, right? It's doable, but it's really uncomfortable. So a lot of the times we'll just do this, and we won't play that in the bottom. And that resolves back to the C shape, which, right? And we keep going around in that cycle. So this is just a few shapes that you need to remember, right? The B shape to the E shape to the A shape resolves to the D shape, the D7 resolves to the G shape, and the G shape, or resolves to the C. Now, how do you apply this? You think about, like I said at the beginning, you're always thinking about what are you landing on, right? What are you resolving to? So if I'm going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? That's a C-shaped thing, right? So what's the shape that resolves to a C shape? Go back and look at what we did. It's a G shape, right? So I do here, right? The next chord I'm going to resolve to is B flat. This is an A shape. What resolves to that? That does. And as you start to understand sort of the roots and the names of these chords, you can say, well, if this is an F, right, and that's resolving here, then anything else that's an F, so if you happen to know, well, that's an F7, so you could do that shape, right, which resolves to B flat, right, not a very flamenco voicing, but you start to think, we're resolving to B flat, but G minor 7 can kind of be used as a substitution, and it can sort of go further that way. So you can go kind of crazy with this stuff, right? But the better you understand how these shapes relate to one another, the easier it's going to be to make these decisions and have fun. If we're just thinking in terms of shapes, right? And we're thinking about bar chords, so we're thinking about movable shapes. So if I say that the B shape resolves to the E shape, that means that if I want to resolve to the E shape anywhere, right? This is the E shape, even though it's a G, I need this shape to resolve to it, right? If I'm going to resolve to this chord, which is an A shape, then the E shape resolves to that. If I'm going to resolve to something that looks like a D, then, right, that A shape resolves to the D shape. The D shape resolves to the G shape, right? So I can do that. And then finally the G shape, wherever it is, resolves to the C shape, and that brings us full circle. So you want to memorize these shapes and what they resolve to. And it's a really good way, without learning all the theory yet, to get a grip of what dominants resolve where.